I think we'll go straight to the matrix operation in list. I don't know if someone can actually confirm that that's where we stop. Yes, that's where we stop. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so let's just get started and let's see how it's going to go. Okay, so we go straight to the matrix operation. Please mute yourself wherever you are. Okay, the video of the last class, I think that was intentional. I'll make it available online maybe by tomorrow. Then I'll also add this one as well. So everything will just go all in one. I've been really tied up at some point, so I'll make sure it's available. And I'll do that. Thank you very much for reminding me. Okay, so let's go straight to the matrix operation. Let's see how it goes. So the first thing, remember that when you talk about a list, we also know what nested list is all about. You know what nested list? That's a list in list. And by the time it say a list in list, it means that we can actually use that to create something known as a matrix. A matrix is just what in math is just a nested list in Python. So you can say what is matrix? You can just say, okay, what is a matrix in Python? It's just a nested list in Python. So we just go straight to the point and we go define a list. We define a list of lists. You can see here A is equals to, I can decide to connect this. So A is equals to, we start with an open bracket here. Where is the square bracket? By the time you open the square bracket, you put another bracket inside here. This is 1, 2, 3. And by the time you click this, you press on this particular comma, you click enter, and you continue with this. By the time you finish, you do another comma and put enter, and end it with the square bracket here. Definitely, when you call out the A here, it's going to give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, and that's exactly as we did here, just that we are just using the enter sign here, and it doesn't really come out like as we wanted to. But this is our kind of what do you call it? Our metrics that we have defined. Same way we're doing for B, 10, 20, 30. This is the first row, the second row, and the third row. So these are what we call the matrix operation, which are just nested lists in Python. So, and if you look at this, please pay attention to what I'm about saying. It's going to be very important. If you look at this, if you look at A here, I would like someone to tell me how many elements are there inside this particular list. Sorry, this particular matrix. How many elements? How many indexes are here? Like if you want to get the very first index, what are the index? How many indexes do we have here? Anybody can raise up your hand. We have 2. Okay, 0, 1, and 2. If you want to access the index, you can see that there are 3 elements here, guys. There are 3 elements in this particular. The main elements here, there are 3. That is the one forward, the index of 0, which is 1, 2, 3. That one comes as a single element on its own until we go into the nested part of it. 4, 5, 6 is another element. 7, 8, 9 is also another element. So if you want, don't worry, as we are getting along. So this is a practical example. If you want to access the very first element, it's going to come out as 1, 2, 3. If you want to access the second, 4, 5, 6, and the other one is the B part of it. You want to access 10, 20, 30 is also going to be B, but in a square bracket of 0. Now, guys, I would like us to try something wonderful. We have done it before. What if we want to get only 20? In this particular metric that we have defined, what if we want to get 20? How are we going to get only 20 in this particular list of lists? This nested list. How are we going to get the value of 20? You can put it in the chat box here. How are we going to get the value of 20? Put it in the chat box there, please. It's very important. How are we going to get the value of 20? How are we going to get the value of 20? Put it in the chat box, please. Mute yourself. Put it in the chat box. How can we assess the value of 20 here? We have done it before. Okay, I can see answers here. I can see answers here. Are you sure it is A? A is defined. A is defined as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm talking about 20 here, so it's B that we're looking at. So anything that you've done, I know exactly. Maybe I did not see that I defined it. It was B that I defined it to be. So I believe Mr. Cole did the right thing, just that the letter here is actually thought the other one was the other way around. I understand them as well. Emedio as well. So Mr. Sunday got it exactly as we wanted. And someone else is typing here. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So exactly how we wanted it. So this is amazing. This is amazing. It shows that you guys are actually making sense out of this data. And you are going to need that as well. So you can see now the next thing is some person will say, okay, how do I do matrix addition? And you can just simply say, okay, let me just add C, maybe define a new variable and say, okay, C is equals to A plus B. Let's see what it will give us. So we can see C equals to A plus B. It's not going to bring these elements together because they're defined in a nested list. The nested list of lists. So it's not going to work. You're going to look at metrics are always defined in rows and columns. So if you do this, it's not going to work. You're not specifically telling it what to do. It will not work for you until you put them in rows and in columns. And I can remember there was a particular project we worked on. This is, I remember Emedion said something. There was a time we were trying to create stars. Emedion, I don't know if you remember. There was a time we were trying to create stars and you were like, why didn't you just use this at once? And that's what we are going to be using tonight. We're going to go into a particular loop. We're going to go into a particular loop, and inside that loop, we're going to the very first one is going to come out as rows. After that rows goes in, we're going to go into the what? We're going to go into the looping that particular rows, and when you do that, we are going to get into the columns as well. That's what is going to be a practical case. So if you do not get that concept from that time, you might find it difficult at this particular time as well. So let's just get started and see how we can make it work. So if you can see here, this concatenation here in Python list addition is not element-wide, it is just concatenation of lists. So you can see if you bring them together, A plus B, and define it in a new variable, it's going to give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 9. And this is the second metric that is adding here, 10 till 90, which is not giving us exactly what we want. We want each of them to be added in an element-wise addition. So when you get advanced, this will not be a problem. We make use of what we call NumPy and pandas. It's a Python library that is mainly used for data science projects as well. But at this stage, it could have been very easy for you to use. But nevertheless, you have to start from somewhere. NumPy and pandas, you have to import them. Import NumPy as NP, import pandas as PD, or anyhow you want to define it as your own. But nevertheless, just go straight to how we can make it happen. So the very first way we want to element-wise addition, add this in an element-wise way, is to first of all, we are going to initialize the result metrics as zeros. We want to create a new matrix of addition of A and B. So the very first thing we're going to do, we're going to initialize the C that we want to use, so that as it's adding, it's going to be going straight to this particular C. Remember when we are trying to do addition, we always create a new variable, say maybe summation is equals to 0. So that's the same thing that we are doing here. And in this particular one, we are adding them in a particular kind of matrix. So by the time we do this, once ever we do this particular thing, once we go through the rows itself, and once we look through the rows and we go into the columns, by the time we say, okay, this is what I want you to do, now you're putting the rows and the columns, bring them together, and each of those elements in their position will get to its own, just like getting married. Okay, you carry this one, add this one, come together, you're on your own. This one comes together on its own, according to how you have defined it as well. So let's just see how it's going to work for us. And we are going to use the length of it. How are we going to make use of the rows and the columns? We are going to make use of the length. So I I've already showed you the solution. So the length of A is going to be 3. Why is it 3? Because there are 3 elements. Forget the fact that there are 9 here, 3, 3, 3. It's not that way, because when it comes to this, it's seeing it as a single element. As far as there's a comma here and it's putting it in a parenthesis, sorry, in a square bracket, is seeing this first one here, the first zeros here as what? As 1, the first element, second element, and the third element. So that's why the length of A is what? The length of A here is what? Is 3. And the length of B here is what? 3 as well. Please, if you do not understand why the length of A and B is 3, you will not understand the next thing I want to do. Please confirm that you understand why the length of A and B is 3. It's very, very important. Please, if you know why the length of 3, A and B is 3, just we can drop an emoji somewhere. Just say you get it. Maybe you can drop a thumbs up, or I want to know that you understand what you're actually doing. Okay, please just let me know. If you do not understand, let me know. It's very, very important that you understand why it is what the length of A. Okay, someone is saying he didn't get it. Okay, all right. So make it work for that person. So yes, there are essentially 3 elements in A and B, which is very, very true. So let's get some persons do not get it right. So let's see. So if we do something like this, if we do, let me make this like this. Sorry. So you can see here, Mr. Mark, if you can look at this, this is a nested list. The nested list is trying to tell you that each of these particular ones here, this from 0, 0, 0 here is the first element. Why is it the first element? Because it is coming as a what? It is coming as a list inside what? An original what? List that was defined. So each of this particular one is what? Is what? An element on its own. I could have decided to say I don't want to put this particular one. I can decide to put 4 here. By the time I put 4 here, is still the element of this list is still what? Is still what? 3. Why is this so? Because they have been separated by commas inside what? They are out. This particular one is inside the what? Inside a particular what? Square bracket, which is coming as different data type. So when I told you that lists are kind of data structures that you can accept, that can definitely accept different data type. For example, this is 4 is an integer, but 0, 0, 0 here is a list inside this particular list, but it is coming as a single element. Which in this single element, why is it single element? Because of these square brackets here. So anything is coming as a single element as a whole. But when you get inside this particular single element, you discover that it is what? It has different elements inside of it. So that is its own what? A particular kind of what? Element inside that particular list. So if you do what they call it, I'm just trying to make sure that you understand this concept. I don't know if you understand what I'm just saying, Mr. Mark.
Yes, it's clearer. Thank you.
Okay, so I can continue. So I can just set Control B. Okay, I think it's better now. So we can see what we did here. So we call the length A, length B now. It will be 3 and 3. So now, guys, if you want to get let's say we put this place as 5. If we put this place as 5 here and we define it, you can see that the index of this, in the index here, the double index that we want to use here is going to be what? We are accessing this particular element, this particular row, which is only just this particular, what they call it, this particular row that has one element here. And inside this one element here, we have 0, 5, and 0. So what do we do? This particular 0 is for the first row element here. Now, the one that you are seeing inside here is the what? The index inside that particular element, which at this particular index here, 1 is representing what? 5. If you wanted to add, you wanted to get the first 0 here, if you put 0 here, you could have brought out 0 as well here. Just that we are setting each of these particular elements. Now let's go to the main idea of what we want to get and how we want to add this particular metrics operations. So let's get there. Let's get there and let's see what we can make it happen. So the first one we're going to do is for I in range. The range that we are using here is the length of A, which is what? 3. And whatever we do in that I for I in range, this is going to be what? Just for the what? The rows. It's going to be for the what? The rows. It's going to be for the what? The rows. And they are trying to tell you that the rows that we have is going to be what? 3. The rows that we have is going to be 3. Now, the next thing we're going to do is to illustrate over that particular row. So inside of this particular rows, there is another 3 added to these rows. There are other 3s that I'm going to add to each of these rows, which is going to come in a column kind of way. It's going to come in a vertical kind of way. So anytime that we are having, the first one was for rows. I remember we did something like this far back. I didn't spend hours, as in minutes in explaining the same thing. So it's almost the same. In fact, it's the same thing here. And the first one is for the rows. We are illustrating over the rows, just trying to tell the person that the rows are 3. Yes, 1, 2, and 3. Now the columns will also be 3 because the length of B is also 3. So it's going to be what? 1, 2, and 3. So it's going to come like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So everything is on the same part. So the rows are 3 and the columns are also 3. So anything that you have, this J is representing each of the elements in what? Each of the elements in what? In rows and in what? Columns. Just like here, let me show you something. The rows and in columns here. So you can see here, these are for the rows. These I've already told you, okay, these are for the rows and these are also for the rows. So each of this is going to be what? This particular one is for the what? The I and the what? The J itself. So they are coming together. I said, okay, this one, I have gotten the one for rows. Now come and join me in that particular row. There's that particular row that I am. And when you come in that particular row, you come, that J will come as a what? As a column position. I said, I'm matching it up with what? Like, for example, let's say 1 is coming and I'm going to match it up with the 10 in my column. The same thing with 2. 4 comes in and said I'm matching up with the one in what? In 40. Something like that. I think I don't know if I'm trying to, maybe the ones I'm explaining it in the way you actually understand. But that's what it does. So by the time you get it, so we are defining it and said, okay, the values that I have for I and J is going to be what? All the values for A, I and J, I'm going to add it with all the values for what? B, I, and J. So by the time we call out the values of C, you can see that the answer is going to give you what? 11, 22, 33, 44, 55, 66, 77, 88, and 99. How is it so? If you look at this right now, how are we getting this, guys? If you can look at it very well, you can see that one matches up with what? 10 here. 2, the same position. 2 goes with 20, it becomes 22. 3 goes with 30, it becomes 33. Like that, and we get it done. So you can see exactly what we did before. I think some weeks ago, we have also repeated the same thing. So anything that we do, if you want to add rows and columns together, this is how you make it happen. This is how you make it happen. The value for I and that of J comes together, and what do? We add them together. So all the things that we have for A will match up with the ones we have for B. Once they come together, it does what? It does the addition for us at that particular position and that particular rows. What we are doing for I in range, this, and for J is to make sure that it goes to the exact position in which we want to do the addition. Okay, so I think that's all for. Okay, Dr. Koyemi's hand is up. Okay.
Yes. Please permit my asking. Can you let me see your screen again? I have a question.
Okay.
Keep going up, please.
Okay.
Okay. This lane A and lane B is actually playing any role in the line of. We are just doing that to show that the length of A and then of that of B is 3. Is it actually necessary in the line of code, other than the fact that you used it to explain to us that the elements in A and then the elements in B are 3?
Yes, it's actually important. Yes, I understand. But if you actually look at your metrics here like this, if you actually look at your metrics, instead of just saying, instead of just using length of A, you can have just decide to use, if you know that the length is 3 already. If you look at your metrics and see that your length is 4, you can decide to use 4 here. But this length of A the value of length of A is already 3, so I can decide to put just 3 here, because it's actually doing the same thing as the length of A here. I don't know if you understand what I just did. Yes.
Let me ask the questions again. I'm saying, must we call out that length A so that you can bring out 3 in this line of code, or you can just
no, it does, no, I will just share. Yes, I know you don't like all those steps, so it's not important.
No, it's not as if I don't like. I just want to know.
No, it's not important. No, it doesn't. Everything is inside this loop. Everything that we need is inside this loop. We don't have.
That's what I wanted to.
Yes, remember that when it comes to collab like this, it works only in this particular kind of, like, all the things you are doing should be inside this particular cell. So exactly, it doesn't. There's no issues with that.
All right. Thank you.
All right. So thank you very much, guys, for at least, and for those ones that have submitted their project. That is an amazing one. It's nice. Oh, Mr. Ko, your hand is also up.
Please.
Okay, yes. Please ask your question. It's very important.
Okay, please. Can you go back to the screen?
Yes, I'm back to the screen.
Okay, so you said in the range length A, we can just use, if you know what the answer is,
the length of the matrix. Yes.
But if you just put the number, how am we sure that the for loop the loop will know that it's talking about lane A?
Okay. The stuff is that I've actually not run all this code right from the very beginning. The main thing is, the main concept of this particular code is to loop through a particular number, right?
Okay.
Is to loop through a particular number and say, okay, this particular thing I want you to do is for the length of, what are you going to do? We want it to be 3 times, and the value of the length of A is just 3. Is 3. There's no way you're going to die, because it's going through a particular one. It's going to a particular one. It's just that you're going to use this to make sure it works. Let's see how it goes. I think I have to just run this in the very beginning. The length of A returns the value. This is the value of the length of A, which is 3. So it doesn't have to. You don't really have to get to say that this is exactly, I want it to be length of A. No, it doesn't work. That the length of A is 3 here. We already seen it here that the result is 3. So anything that you do, it's just like a range. You're just trying to, like, go through something. The main thing that we did here was on line 9. The thing that we did here was on line 9. So anything that we do, we are putting it on line 9 here. We're bringing these particular positions of them together. The length function here is just a number, because the value of that, the outcome of that length of A is what? 3. But nevertheless, to make sure, I brought it out here because I wanted it to understand the whole concept of looping through it as well. You can also decide to use 3, and you can also decide to fulfill all righteousness. We can decide to use length A. It
Okay,
doesn't.
okay.
It doesn't. It doesn't. This for I and for J is definitely for looping. Just to make sure that this particular one comes here, and by the time you get this particular looping, this three that three ring, you come again and put it in a column. So this for I, by the time we do nested for loops, I remember we did nested for loops. This was what we did, and we got our column. Remember when the stars came out? The first star came on 1, 2, 3, and after that the other ones came up as well. So that's the same thing here that we are doing here. Mr. Cole, do you understand what I've done?
Yes, yes, I understand. Thank you.
Okay, so even though you don't get it, maybe we can just go through it again, look at Google as well, check it out and see how you can actually make you understand it. But I remember we did something like this before. I don't know if anyone remembers. Okay, Mr. Sunday. I know we are supposed to go into dictionary today like this. Hey. Okay, Mr. Sunday, let's continue. Let's go. What's your question?
Is there any reason why you put 5 in C?
Is there particular parts of what?
5. You replace 10 with 5 in C.
I was just showing. No, I was just showing something. It's still zero. If it doesn't take it as zero, it's not going to work. Oh, it's not going to give you this. It's not going to give you what do you call it? No, it's not going to give you 22. Oh. So I was just trying to show you something. Yeah, I was just trying to show you. This particular place. It was when I was working on it that it actually when I changed it as well. At 5, that's when it came out at 5. So if I run this, remember I have not run it from the very beginning. These are already predefined already for you. So if you run it now, yes, it will not. It will give you 0. Now I've changed it to 0. So sorry about that. Everything you have to initialize everything to 0, just like I say summation to 0. Okay. So I believe at this point, can we move to dictionary? Let's go to another concept entirely. And there'll also be quiz for this. Don't worry, we'll find a way to still solve this as well. It's very, very important as well. We'll look for ways to bring in more questions that we can actually get it right. Mr. Faraboy, you have a question? You're muted.
I do have a question.
Okay.
What if you have multiple rows and column, more than 3 or 4?
Multiple rows and columns, more than 3 or 4.
Or do they just have to be in this matrix format of just 3 by 3?
No, it could actually be more. We definitely will see it in our classwork as well. There'll be more. You can actually put it 3, but it will still be the same thing because they are the same elements wise. So you see, if you put 0, 0 here, it's still the same. What do you call it? The length will still be 3. I don't know if you get it. If you put 40 here, if you put 40 here, put 40 here, put all of them, add other things to it, it's going to still be returned the length to be 3.
Okay.
Yes. So without wasting much time, let's just go to dictionary and look at what dictionary looks like. Let's look at what dictionary looks like. I remember when we were in school then, we know that dictionary has to do with when you can try to find something and you go to check the meaning of it and the rest. But dictionary in programming is actually almost the same, but the story that it will not tell you that this is this and that is this is the other way. But what is a dictionary? So we want to make it practical enough. You can say we want to store employee data. This is where we are beginning to apply so many things in Python in real life. By the time you get into a database kind of something, like maybe, for example, you go to a site and you try to log in and try to register. By the time you log in and try to register, there's what we call, there's a database that stores your information. They'll ask you for your name. They might ask you for your date, your age, and maybe the work you do and the rest. So that's the essence of a dictionary, and it stores a lot of employees' data, and that's the concept they use for dictionary as well. So you can see that it's quite different from others, though it's also a data structure on its own. For example, you can see what I'm doing here. Employee, is equals to. So I'm defining a variable name employee. And inside this employee, it comes with a curly bracket. A curly bracket means that that is a dictionary, and it must come with other things that has to do with key value pairs. You can see there, once I did the curly brackets here, I define a name. I put it in a what they call it, in a quote. I put a name here, and I separated with a colon. Separated with a column, and I put maybe Clark Kent, and I put a comma. Age also the same thing. I separated with a column, and I put the age to be 37, and I separated with a column with a comma. The same thing with department. I separated with a colon, and I put it this thing next. And I'm going to tell you what it does, what's the meaning of all these things as we proceed. So we can think of dictionary as a general form of list. It's come like more of like a list, but it's quite different. In lists, indices are integers, and they are defined implicitly by Python. But we don't define indices for what? For lists. But for dictionary, we define indices manually, and they do not have to be integers, just like the other ones that we say. We want to say the index. We say index of a particular list. We want to assess the index of it is going to be 0. Index of 0 will return the first element. Index of 2. Index of 1 will return the second element if you are using the positive indexing. Okay. So, but that of dictionary is quite different. How do we assess it? We assess it using the key. Okay. So if you can see up, I can go up here again. I can see name here. Name here, the very first one that comes in before the next column is called the key. There are data structures that are in form of a sequence that are separated by the key value pairs. Okay, we have key and we have values. For example, the name here is the key. Now the value here that we have, what is the key? The key here is name, and the value of that key is what? Clark Kent. Also, age is the key here. The value of that particular key age is 37, which is the 37, which is the value. And the key here for this, the next one is of department, and the value here is new services. By the time you do all those things, you close it with a what? With a curly bracket, just like list, but list was a square bracket. So that's the way. Now, how can we get the values of this particular dictionary? Instead of the list, like we use the index numbers, in this particular one, we use the keys. And we say that the keys must be unique. The keys must be unique. You cannot have duplicate keys. You cannot have duplicate keys. For example, here we have numbers equals to, we do the same thing. So 1 is the key here, and the value here is the 1 in words. 2, the same thing till we get to 4 is the same thing. So now let's find a way and explicitly say, okay, how can we create a dictionary? Okay, how can we now create a dictionary? And at this point, Alpha, is there any, should I continue? Like, it seems I'm getting too fast. Do you understand what I'm doing, guys? Please. Am I good to go? Please confirm that I should carry on. Okay, one person has confirmed. Mr. Sunday has confirmed. Any other person? Okay, carry on. Okay, I can carry on. Okay. Okay. So I think this military something is still inside of me. I'm still asking permission to carry on. Okay, let's continue. Creating a dictionary. So in lists, we create a list and we use the square bracket. But in dictionary, you can see we create it using the curly bracket here, and you can see it here. So let's try and create an empty dictionary, and it's always represented by DICT. You can see DICT. By the time we call it the type that we used to call, we're going to see that it's going to come out as what? As a DICT. Instead of just saying dictionary, just say DICT. Okay, that shows it's a dictionary. So let's define an empty dictionary. You can see cars underscore empty equals to curly bracket. This is an empty dictionary. If we check the type of that empty dictionary, we can see that the type will give us DICT, which is showing that it is a dictionary. The same thing, let's make it formal. Let's start our dictionary officially. You know, you can also create these things like this. I'm just putting, I just want it to look beautiful. That's why I'm actually putting it as like this. You can decide to define your own. As far as it has this key and values separated by commas, is okay. Okay, so it doesn't mean anything. You have just defined your own inside one row, one line. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter as far as it has the key and the values, and you are defining it well enough. So you can see how do looking at where these things are made. So you can see how the Germany, Mazda, Japan, Fiat, Italy. So these are the key and the values here. So Mazda here is the key, Japan here is the value, Fiat here is the key, Italy here is the value. So you can call out the cars, you can see it comes out, by the time you call out cars, it comes out like this. I'll do Germany and the rest. So by the time you print cars, it also does the same thing. If you check the types of cars, it also gives you it as well. The same thing with other ones. You can see let's say how we can make this work for us. So you can decide to say cars underscore empty underscore 2 equals to dit and the rest. That means you're trying to change this particular thing to what you're trying to create an empty what they call it dictionary as well, and you can name it and check the type and it will change to what the type will change to what the dictionary. Okay, the same thing with cars underscore 2. You can decide to say equals to this, and by the time we make it happen, it turns to what a dictionary as well. So it's almost just trying to find a way to figure things out like this. So as far as you understand how to create, there are different ways of creating dictionary. So this was another way, but I've always preferred this particular one that you just go straight to the point of what you want to do. Okay, so now how can we access this particular dictionary? Okay, remember in list we access it via we'll put it a square bracket and we'll put the index of it. But this particular one we do what we can see here. We're going to see practically. If we can see here, we try to access these cars that we have defined already up here. The cars that we have defined, Audi, Germany, Mazda, and Japan. By the time we call it out using the normal indexing that we used to use, it will not work. It's going to give us what a key error. You can see a key error here. It's not just how to access the values of a particular element in dictionary. So how do we do that? We do that using the word the keys. We use that using the word the keys. You can see cars, and we call out the key of what we want. For example, we wanted Germany, so we call out the key of Germany, which is what Audi. By the time we call out the key of Audi, it returns the value of the dictionary of Audi, which is the key, and returns Germany. The same with Fiat, it returns what Italy. So and you try to, let's say you want to access a key that is not in that particular dictionary. By the time you access Ford was not listed in that dictionary, it's going to give you what a key error. So that's how it's working. And where we're going to stop tonight will be where we're going to look at adding elements to a dictionary. There were ways we added elements to the list over there, but there are ways we use what we add things to dictionary. In dictionary, in list, we used append and insert, but also this one in list we do not have these methods as well. So in this we cannot say we want to update something or we want to like put the key and say okay, this is the value I want to put. No, it's quite different. In our own we use index and we'll put in the new value we want to use, which that works for us for list. But in dictionary, we have key and value. So if you want to put numbers here, you can see we're bringing numbers again, the key and the value here. Let's say we want to add 5. So this is how we do it. You just call out 5. This 5 is not showing that it's the index, so please, 5 is the key that we want to add to this particular dictionary. So the key here is what we call out the dictionary name, which is numbers. And by the time we do that, we put it in a square bracket and say, okay, what is the key of that? The next thing we want to add is going to be what 5, and what is the value we want to give? We want to give it what 5 in words, FIVE, and it's a string. Definitely, it's a string. So we keep it there, and it works for us. So by the time we call out numbers, you can see it has added 5 to that particular dictionary. The same thing we want to add 6 and the rest and name it as 6. Okay, this was an error, but later confirm it and change it to 6 again, and it changed it for me. Now the next thing is that what if we want to append? Append doesn't work for dictionary. Append, you can see attribute error. This object has no attribute append for dictionary. Okay, so if you want to do it practically, you can just say number this 7, 8, and 9, and by the time you print it out, you can see it has given us the key and the values up to what 9, exactly what we want. Now the next thing we're going to look at, another method how we can add to dictionary is the update. You can see here, this is burn is equals to this, and the values and the keys and the values. So how do we add? Okay. So what the first thing we want to do, how can we add color into the car dictionary? Okay, how do we update it? So we simply do what? We define another element on another values on its own element underscore 2 underscore add equals to color, and the color it should be what? Red. So by the time we want to do that, we call out the name of this particular dictionary and said, okay, guys, I want to update it, and then say car dot update. What are we updating? What is inside the word line 3, which is element underscore 2 underscore add. By the time we call out the car here, is going to do what? Add the color red into this particular word dictionary that we have. Okay, so the same thing as well. So we can also add inside with parentheses, inside the parentheses. So how can we add it directly instead of just defining all this and say put it in a variable and just do this and go back and do this? You could have just done exactly by adding what? Putting it in a parenthesis and add it with a curly bracket, and straight up it goes to what? Car itself. So we have added H to it, and it now becomes that as well. So how can we add more than one key value pair? So you can add as plenty as you want. Elements that underscore to add underscore add, you add as many as you want. By the time you do that, you just say, okay, I want you to update it, car.update, and it takes straight up and it goes toward the dictionary itself. So at this particular point, I will stop here and ask and request if you have questions to ask at this particular point for dictionary. We'll have to stop here. The next one we're going to do is to delete elements from a dictionary, read elements from a dictionary, look over dictionary, reverse lookup, and dictionary and list. That will be done with loops. And I want us to go fast and so that we'll do our object-oriented programming as well. By the time we get to that stage, that's the main defining moment for you as a programmer. It's going to get more complex, but nevertheless, we always find a way to make it easier and go back at it again and again. So if you have questions, please ask. Okay, Mr. Sunday, your hand is up.
So, is it mutable like a dictionary?
Yes, you can. For the fact that we can add something to it, it means that we can actually work with it at some point. So you can add some values to it, and also, yes, it's actually, let's confirm the mutability of this. We can decide to change the key. How do you find it? That try to change if you want to try to change something now. For example, you want H, you want this thing, what do you call it? Maybe you want to change the value of the key of a particular this thing. Well, you want to change it from 6. You see what happened here? Remember when we had 6 SIXT? By the time we did that, it gave us SIST, but we now went to again and change it again. So it's actually possible. So we can confirm it on Google and said, is dictionary in Python mutable? Okay, so there's an option here. So you can see the only thing that is an ordered word. Okay, so a dictionary is an unordered and mutable Python container. It's unordered, just like the other ones that is list is ordered when it comes to indexing, but key dictionaries are not ordered. You can call out any key at some point and it will give us what you want. As far as you know the key of that particular is inside that dictionary. So a dictionary is an unordered mutable. Mutable is definitely what? Mutable. Okay. Any other question? Any other question, guys? Any other question? Please ask. Do you understand anything? All the things I said? It's not possible. Now you can't understand everything. You understand everything? I want to confirm. Mr. Cole, do you understand all that we have done when it comes to dictionary? Mr. Fonobon,
Yes,
do you
sir, I
understand?
understand.
Okay, Mr. Fonobon, Dr. Femi, Mr. Sunday, Mr. Mark, Miss Emedion. Emedion, how are you doing? How is it going over there? Hope you're okay.
Yeah, we are fine.
Okay. All right. So at this point, guys, I would like to end this class. I would like to end this class now, and thank you guys for joining me out.
The video of last class.
Okay, it will be uploaded soon. It will be uploaded tomorrow. I will upload it with this other one as well. So that's where we'll be ending tonight. Thank you guys for joining in, and have a fantastic day.
Good night.